So if you ace this and you did well on the first 2 take-home quizzes, then you are in great shape to pull at least a C+ on the test. Why don't I say you're going to get an A? Well, what I didn't do on these quizzes is give you multiple choice questions. The study guide that I put together for you has 4 pages of multiple choice questions. Because the provincial's multiple choice, I'd be a bad teacher if I didn't give you at least some multiple choice to kind of get a feel for it. And so I have that in a study guide. Your test is going to be about half multiple choice, maybe anywhere between 15 and 20 questions multiple choice. Then there's going to be 24 matching vocabulary words, or 18, around 20. And then I'm going to probably have 4 or 5 written questions. You know what? Think about the 3 quizzes that I gave you, shorten them down, and that's your written section. So you ready? Here we go. Hey, who's my favorite student? Me? No. Good old Anne. What would be funny is if I ever have a student named Anne Serkey. That'd be great. Balance the following equations. Okay. I always check to see, hey, is it balanced already? Now, number 1, maybe you're at the point, Allison, can you guys see number 1? I can balance it with just 1 coefficient? Yeah. Where? Put a 2 in front of the HF. There you go. And that gets you 2 marks, apparently. Yeah. Well, I can't make them different. I could somehow make the tougher ones more marks, but then what happens, because they're tougher, kids do worse on them. So I'd rather I'll make everything worth the same, and hopefully the easy ones are like, woohoo, and the tougher ones, but maybe averaging out, we're okay. Yeah, I think about all these things. Number 2, this one I'm probably going to need to do a bit more work, and I've seen some of you are reaching the point where you're doing some of these ones in your head. Good. I would never do it on a test that way, but in my homework, sure. I got 1 SN. I got 2 O's. I got 1 SN. I got 1 O. Well, for starters, I would say I'd like to have 2 of those. Oh, which gives me 2 of those, which means I need a 2. Is it 2 SN plus O2 plus 1 O2 yields 2 strontium oxides? Is SN strontium or tin? Tin oxide. Okay. By the way, if in English, don't write this down, you said, that would be wrong. Why? Can you find tin on your pink periodic table, which I'm sure you have in front of you? Duncan. It is multivalent. I'd have to figure out what Roman numeral went there. And this is something people are having trouble with, which is why I wanted to point this out. How would I figure out what Roman numeral went there? I would have to look at this and uncrisscross. I would say, okay, what number is sitting right here? It's invisible. So there must have been a 1 minus there. What number is sitting right here? It's invisible. There must have been a 1 plus. Now there's a problem here, and the problem is oxygen is not 1 minus. What is oxygen? How could I turn a 1 minus into a 2 minus? Times it by? Times by 2, times that one by 2 as well. You know what? This must have been tin 2 oxide. That's how we do those, and I'll be practicing those a bunch on the review. Anyhow, I didn't ask you to come up with a name, but I thought it was a good chance to review something that was multivalent. 2 marks. You know what? Since you put 2 things, how about 1 mark for having a 2 in front of the SN, 1 mark for having the 2 in front of the SNO, 1 mark off for each wrong number that you have. Right? So for some reason, yeah, 2 marks if you didn't add anything. Now, what if, Courtney, you hadn't caught that? And so what if you started balancing and you put a 2 there and a 2 there and a 2 there? Why can't I leave that alone? What? Okay, we have to go lowest terms. What if I had that? Can I divide everything by 2? No, because what number is invisible sitting right there? Yeah, so just be cautious of that. This one is not balanced. Ooh, this one could be yucky. Let's see. Want to hear a joke about potassium? Okay. Okay, yeah. Well, if I put a 2 here, that gives me 6 of those, 2 of those, and 2 of those. You okay with that, Andrea? I'm just guessing, but I put a 2 there. That gives me 2, 2, and 6. 2 times 3, 6. You okay with that? Say yes. Okay. How many? Okay. How many K's do I have on the right-hand side? Look up. 1. How many do I have on the left? So I might try putting a 2 there. Now that's going to give me 2 of those. 2 of those, which is great. Oh! That is going to give me 6 oxygens. Do you see it? 4 there. And 2 more. There's my 6 oxygens. You know what? 1 mark for having a 2 in front of the Canoke 3. And 1 mark for having a 2 in front of the Canoke 2. Why didn't I start with the oxygens, even though they didn't match? I saved the oxygens and the hydrogens for last. Sage, especially if you notice that on the left-hand side, all the O's are clumped together, but on the right-hand side, they're split. Try and save them for last, because what you're kind of hoping is maybe they'll take care of themselves, maybe, which they did in this case. Let's see. This is not balanced. How many borons? 1. How many nitrogens? 1. How many fluorines? Mr. Hofbrinkel says I have to have 2 because it's a diatomic molecule. How many borons? 1. How many fluorines? 3. How many nitrogens? 2. Okay. Well, fluorines or nitrogens. I'm going to try maybe the nitrogens first. I got 2 on the right. So if I put a 2 there, that gives me 2 and 2. Then, Jasmine, I got 2 borons on the left, so I might say I need 2 here by putting a 2 like that. Oh, but that also changes the number of Fs. How many Fs do I have on the left-hand side now? 6. Okay, borons match, nitrogens match. Put a 3 there, and I've got 6. 2 boron mononitride. Is boron boron's a nonmetal, so that's covalent. Plus 3 diatomic fluoride molecules, difluorides, yields 2 boron trifluorides plus 1 dinitrogen molecule. Those are all covalents because none of those are metals. Number 6. I hate these CHOs, but let's see. By the way, the other thing that tells me, Jess, that this might be tough, again, I got oxygen in numerous, okay, well, let's list. 3 carbons, 8 hydrogens, 3 oxygens, right? 1 carbon, 2 hydrogens, 3 oxygens. Well, the oxygens works. Carbons are high. You know what? I'm going to start with the carbons first, I think. So I need 3 of them, 3. Of course, now that changes the number of oxygens. I have 6 and 1. I got 7. Okay. Sorry? I should have done hydrogens first? I don't know. Let's find out. I got 8 over here. Well, I can get 8 by putting a 4 there. That gives me 8. Boy, that changes the number of oxygens, though. Now I have 6 and 4. 10. Oh, I can... Oh! Can't quite do this. I got 1 oxygen there. So I want to turn this into 9 oxygens because that's going to give me 10. I could do that by going like this, which is not allowed. So I can fake my way around it by going times by 2, times by 2, times by 2. Is that right, folks? Is it 2, 9, 6, and 8, or am I wrong? Yeah. Whew. Now, I got really sloppy here. Let's see. Let's double check. 6 and 6. Check. 16 and 16. Check. 2 plus 18, 20. 12 plus 8, 20. I bet you didn't do that one in your head. Just saying. Okay. We're going to go 1 mark for getting what we call the skeleton equation. By the way, the skeleton equation is the equation that I give you that aren't balanced, but that work with the crisscross. That's called the skeleton equation. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, this is zinc and plus copper 2 sulfate. Okay, I need to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. So I'm going to do that over here. Copper, which they tell me has a charge of 2 plus. That's what the Roman numeral means. Sulfate, that's not sulfide, sulfate, that's on the back, right? Sulfate is going to be SO4 2 negative. When I crisscross, I get a 2 and a 2 there. Will I write this? Why not? Okay, lowest terms. There's step 1. Zinc and copper 2 sulfate. Now, I would have no problem, Joseph, if you did that, just to remind you that was a polyatomic ion. Technically, it's considered bad manners, but whatever. Yeah.
What if you wrote like
I'll take all that in a second. Let me get through this. I'll do the whole thing, and then I'm probably going to say, show me it at the end, and I'll give you an estimate as to the marks, because there's 1,000,001 combinations. Form results in copper 2. You don't put the 2 on there, it's just Cu. And zinc sulfate. Okay, zinc has a charge of, does zinc have a charge of 2 plus? And SO4 has a charge of 2 minus. Oh, this crisscrosses nicely into zinc sulfate. Now, that gets you 1 mark. Turns out, once you get that far, because I made this up and didn't do the answer in my head, unlike some people, it's balanced now, yes? Is that right? So, 1 mark for coming up with that. I would probably do something, Julie, like take a half mark off for each glitch, but show it to me after, and I'll give you a rough guess. And then 2 marks for just writing the word, or not putting any numbers in front of, any coefficients in front of the terms. 8 is tougher. 8 needs to be balanced as well as crisscrossed. 8's as tough as it can get. Mr. Dueck, how many of these are going to put on the test? I think I'll probably put 2 or 3 word to skeleton to balanced equations. I'm not going to put 10 of them. Aluminum, that I can do. Hey, call me Al. And, hey, this thing here, covalent or ionic, and how do I know from the name? So what does that mean? Di is the key, so does that mean is it covalent or ionic? Covalent. And I assume you were talking about the di, not telling me what to do, right? Okay. Is it you, totally over your head? No, oh, sure you did. So it's going to be H2, and sulfate was SO4. Form results in hydrogen, and aluminum sulfate. Aluminum is 3 plus. Sulfate is 2 minus. So Rylan, when I crisscross, and I know I've made a mistake, hopefully you've caught it. Al2, but I'm not giving a candy for that because I did it on purpose. SO4, 3. What's my mistake? Yep. Mr. Hofbrinkel means when he's by himself, hydrogen, oxygen, fluorine, bromine, iodine, nitrogen, and chlorine, when they're by themselves, are automatically, hey, what do we call them? Begins with letter D. Diatomic molecules. That sounds like a good vocabulary word. Hint, hint. If you got that, that gets you 1 mark. And now we balance. 1 of those. 2 of those. I'm going to treat this polyatomic ion like one funky, weird atom. Is that a hand up or a stretch?
Hand up.
Yep.
Can I just give you the whole answer when you tell me if I'm right?
I don't know. Let's find out in a second. Let me get started, and then maybe. You're assuming I can do these in my head. In all honesty, most of these, Alex, I can't. I'm not that great at at balancing equations on the fly, as is evidenced by my numerous mistakes that mostly aren't intentional, except for the H2, which was. I got 2 H's, I got 2 AL's, and I got... Okay, what did you have, Alex? What did you put in front of the first AL?
I put 2.
This may or may not be right. Let's find out. What did you put in front of the first H2 SO4?
9.
Or is that a German saying no? 9? Okay. What did you put in front of the first H2 on the right-hand side, the reactant? Sorry, the product. 6?
Yeah.
And I foolishly didn't leave enough room. Plus sign goes there. What did you put in front of this next one?
9.
Is that right, folks? Okay. Let's find out. So 2969, let's find out. Alex, let's do this together since you volunteered. Start with what? You know what? I would start with the SO4s because I think I can clump them together. How many SO4s on the right? Look up, kiddo. How many SO4s on the right?
3.
How many on the left?
1.
So I would do this for starters. That gives me 3. But what else did that change?
I don't know. Let me work out mine.
Okay.
I'm trying to be my own here.
6. Now I would say, how many hydrogens? 6. So I would say if I put a 3 there, that gives me 6. No, we're not. One thing's not balanced. What? Our friend Al. Oh, on the left-hand side, you're saying put a 2 there? 2, 3, 3, 1 as my coefficients. By the way, if I wanted to give you this as a multiple choice, the way I would do this is I would simply say, hey, what are the coefficients? A, 2, 3, 3, 1. B, 2, 1, 3, 2. I just jumble them up or whatever. If you're wondering, how do they ask these as multiple choice questions? They just want you to rattle off the numbers in front, the coefficients. Okay? So you know what? 1 mark for the blue and then 2 marks for the red. If you would be so kind as to give yourself a clear score at the top out of 18, and if you need to come lawyer with me, now is the time. So what I've given you guys is I need you all to listen. Okay, got it together, I need you to listen. Allison, can you face the front all the way, please? Guys, with me? Okay. I've given you a study guide. All of this is what's going to be on the test. You do not have to do all of this. So you need to listen close. I'm going to tell you what's mandatory and what's studying. If you can do some of these in your head without doing any work, glance at the answer key. I didn't attach the answers, but I have some scattered all over the class, and I will also put them online. If you can glance at the answer key, just leave it, Julie, for a sec. If you can glance at the answer key and you know you're right, skip it. You don't need to study that. Okay? In other words, if you're very, very comfortable doing the name of the compound and all that stuff, Great. Now, some of these ones on this first page for Ionic is practice with the Roman numerals, and that seems to be what people are struggling with. So I might suggest you might want to do most of this first page or every other question or something. But I'm not going to say you must do all of this. That's not a study guide. You need to learn how to study. Turn the page, please. Okay? The one that says BLM 214. Again, this one is optional. Glance at it. If you are confident you know how to do these, maybe do every other one or every third one. Check your answers and you're good. If it's something you need more practice with, do it. Oh, and I made a little note here. Whenever you're dealing with carbon, carbon can be assumed to have a charge of 4-, even though it doesn't say that officially on your periodic table. Same with silicon. Look at 215. Same idea. If you are comfortable doing these or do every other one or every third one, check your answers. Or if you can do them in your head, great. 218. Okay, this is balancing equations. This is going from a word equation to a skeleton where it's not balanced, just you've got the crisscross done right, to a balanced equation. I would recommend that's probably something most of you need practice on, or even you might say, oh, I'll do the ones that are multivalent, like number 1, because that's what I'm having trouble with, or do some of those. Again, this page is partly optional in that I'm not saying, Dylan, do everyone, do what you think you need to. Where does it stop being optional? What I haven't done with you is practice with multiple choice. So starting on 219, this is what's due the day of the test. So 219, here's some multiple choice questions, one written. 220, here's some multiple choice questions, all multiple choice. And then 221, multiple choice questions, some written. And then here's a practice test on everything. I would say those last 5 that I've mentioned that have the multiple choice stuff, that and the matching, that is mandatory by next week. And that you can work on for the remainder of class. The problem with my answer key was 4 pages long, and this was already 7 pages long. I didn't want to kill more trees. What's my website? So if you go to pitmath.com, navigate to Science 10, click your way to Block D, you will see there's a document there called Study Guide, or Chapter 4 Study Guide Answer Key. It's a PDF. You can have that on your phone. I've also put one answer key at each table group during class. Don't hog the answers, but you can share the answers there. Okay? Also, any other missing assignments, you can get those in today. Last thing, remember there is a bonus video game. I will give you up to 2 bonus marks on your test. If you send that in, that's due by test time, a week from today. Any questions at all? What you're working on, you're good? We're pressing pause because I really think if I get this in your brains, the rest of the chapters will go better. We'll be starting a new chapter on Monday. In fact, on Monday you can expect that we'll be doing a shuffle and the seating plan will be changing. Yes, it will be. Okay, so I'm shutting up.